Okay, welcome to the Public Service Commission's administrative meeting for October 8th, 2025. First item is approval of the minutes from our meeting of October 1, 2025. Commissioner McLean.
Aye.
Commissioner Linton.
Aye.
Commissioner Stutzman.
Aye.
I vote aye.
Morning, Mr. Chair. There's one item on today's consent agenda. It's a request to change the electricity broker license of NLX North America, Inc.
Okay, with that, I move we grant the company's request to change its license to authorize it to operate as a certified or curtailment service provider to commercial and industrial customers in all service territories and terminate the company's authorization to act as a broker of electricity. Commissioner McLean.
Aye.
Commissioner Linton.
Aye.
Commissioner Suchman.
Aye.
I vote aye.
Item number 2 on the administrative agenda is a request from Westminster Solar LLC for an extension of its operational deadline.
Good morning, Chair, Commissioners. Michael Dean on behalf of staff. Item 2 is a request filed by Westminster Solar LLC for a 1-year extension of the operational deadline for the 1.5 megawatt Westminster Solar project located in Carroll County. The extensions being requested is to January 18, 2027. COMAR 20.62.03.04C requires that a community solar energy generating system to be operational within 3 years of the approval of its subscriber organization application. Under the community solar statute at Public Utilities 7-306.2, small solar energy facilities are built and generate electricity for the distribution system, which is credited to the electric bills of its subscribers, which are intended to be low and moderate income customers of the local electric company. However, COMAR 20.62.0304C provides that if a project fails to begin operation within 36 months of the approval of its subscriber organization, the electric company is to remove the project from its company's program queue. COMAR 20.62.01.04 provides that the Commission may waive a regulation to the subtitle for good cause shown. This is the second request for an extension of the operational deadline for this project, the first being granted in 2024. The reason for the request per the filing is due to delays in the county permitting process. With a 1-year extension, the filing indicates that the project should be able to obtain its final permits and construction should be completed in December 2026. The project is eligible for the federal investment tax credit through the 5% safe harbor method. Staff recommends that the Commission grant the requested limited waiver of COMAR 20.62.03.04C and extend the operational deadline for the Westminster Solar project to January 18, 2027.
Okay, any questions for staff?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. Max Cook on behalf of Westminster Solar LLC. I'm also joined by Ms. Natalie Young with the developer and Mr. Nick Leffner with Kimley Horn, the civil consultant for the project. We've reviewed staff's filing and are here to answer any questions from the Commission. Thank you.
Okay, any questions? So the buck sheet said that part of the reason for the delay was the permitting process in Carroll County. Now, was this, I mean, they've been kind of at the forefront of trying to stop these solar projects, but did you at any point explain to them what a community solar project is and why this is a little different than these ones that they, you know, the utility scale ones that they tend to get view as being just burdens?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to let Mr. Leffner answer that as far as because he's been a part of the local permitting process. I do know that this project in Carroll County, just from a permitting perspective, has so many review agencies and so many different individuals involved that these delays are not unique to this project. I know that it's a very, very long process, but with that said, I'll let Mr. Leffner answer your question.
Thank you, Commissioners. Nick Leffner with Kimley Horn. I was the civil engineer and civil engineer of record for the project. We did explained that this is a community scale project with Carroll County, and I'd say one thing that's actually unique is that it's located in a zoning district that permitted solar, so no special exception was required. Obviously, it was less than 2 megawatts, so there wasn't any kind of CPCN preemption. So we did talk to them, but like Mr. Cook shared, the delays were really just time periods based on staff review timelines, a couple of changes kind of from direction that was given at concept level review as we went into the final level review, and then just the multiple departments that review the project. So I think SHA was an example where right-of-way dedication had been requested. The county said it wouldn't be required at concept level because there was no subdivision proposed. Then we heard before final, we would have to dedicate the right-of-way. So we went through the process of dedicating right-of-way to state highway. It just introduced a lot of different departments that you have to get, balance all of their feedback to make sure everybody's getting addressed.
All right, so I've had an ongoing concern, and I think other people have too, that a lot of these county permitting processes, seem to be more like, running through an obstacle course, where, and it's situations where, you do certain things, and then they say, oh no, you forgot to do this, now you got to go back to start, and it just seems that it's almost like guerrilla warfare on their part to actually try and hold up these things by stalling them out, but instead what happens is you wind up showing here, getting the extensions in the operational deadline, but it doesn't stop the project. Is that what happened here? Or?
I would say yes. What happened here, and I'd say it's kind of general to development in Maryland, with just the amount of jurisdictions, the different departments that are reviewing things, the coordination that goes on. I'd say between departments, where you're maybe getting conflicting requests from departments, and just taking more time to essentially resolve those requests.
Okay, fair enough. Commissioner Linton.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning. Could you let us know if there are what your status is with the utility company in terms of any requirements that you may have with them to have this move forward? Is there anything outstanding? Is there any challenge or issues that you need to report?
Mr. Commissioner, there are no issues with the utility right now, and I don't believe there's anything outstanding.
Okay, so then all of the delays are exclusively because of the permitting challenges with the county?
That's correct, Commissioner.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay. All right. With that, I move we grant the requested limited waiver of COMAR 20.62.03.04C and extend the operational deadline for the Westminster Solar Project to January 18, 2027. Commissioner McLean?
Aye.
Commissioner Linton?
Aye.
Commissioner Suchman?
Aye.
I vote aye.
Item number 3 is a CPCN waiver request from Baltimore Gas and Electric Company.
Morning, Chair Hoover and Commissioners. Roger Austin on behalf of staff. On August 6th, 2025, Baltimore Gas and Electric Company, BGE or the company, filed a written request to the Commission to grant the company a mandatory waiver of the requirement to obtain a Certificate of Public Convenience and Necessity, CPCN, for work to facilitate construction of an electrical substation on existing BGE right-of-way in an existing BGE transmission corridor in Anne Arundel County. A data center customer in BGE service territory requires electric service. BGE is proposing to build a new substation in existing right-of-way beneath 2 transmission circuits that will connect those 2 transmission circuits to the data center. In order to tap into the transmission circuits, it will be necessary to replace one of the existing steel monopoles that currently carries the 2 230 kV transmission circuits with 2 taller steel monopoles that will each carry one of the 2 230 kV transmission circuits. BGE estimates the total cost to complete the project to be approximately $19.8 million. BGE's tariff in this case requires the data center customer to fully fund the entire cost of the project. BGE has performed community outreach in the form of 2 community meetings. At the community meetings, BGE's project team addressed questions from members of the public and heard community comments. Staff has reviewed video of the meetings and can confirm that the meetings were cordial and no member of the public expressed opposition to the project at the community meetings. In conclusion, staff finds that all of the statutory requirements for obtaining a mandatory waiver of the CPCN requirements as stipulated in Public Utilities Article Section 7-207B for Romanet 1 are satisfied. The Commission is therefore obligated to waive the requirement to obtain a CPCN. Staff recommends that the Commission grant BGE's request for a mandatory waiver of the requirement to obtain a CPCN pursuant to Public Utilities Article Section 7-207B for Romanet 1 to modify its existing overhead transmission lines for the project described in its waiver request. Thank you.
Okay, any questions for staff? Commissioner Suchman?
Morning, Mr. Austin.
And-
So, can you describe for me what the project is?
Yeah, so they'll be building a substation beneath existing transmission circuit. In order to tap into that circuit, they will need to remove the one tower that is currently housing 2 transmission circuits and replace that one tower with 2 taller towers.
Okay.
And that
How much taller are the new towers?
They may have described it, they may have stated in their application. I don't remember off the top of my head.
Okay, but they are taller.
But because it's taller, that's why they need to request the waiver.
Okay, but they're requesting a mandatory waiver. So by mandatory, it means that we have to approve the waiver because they meet the conditions, either that it's within an existing right-of-way or it's no higher than the current towers. This
No,
one seems
the-
higher.
The voltage is not higher.
Well, it says require larger or higher structures to accommodate. So what you're saying is it's not increasing voltage. So they are higher structures, but not increased voltage.
Not increased voltage, correct.
So the voltage is the same.
The voltage is the same.
And conductors,
The conductors are the same. And so council is showing me that the new towers are 125 feet, right, and 89 feet, but it doesn't show what the old tower. The existing one is 89 feet tall, and the new ones will be 125 feet tall.
okay, explain to me why they're not going to require increased voltage, even though there's increased usage on the lines. There's going to be this data center. It's going to
Correct.
be requiring additional supply, so there's going to be more load that's being served, but that's not going to increase the voltage.
No,
Okay. So the project is 19.8 million?
yes. The entire project, the substation.
Right.
part.
What's under the waiver
Under the
request?
waiver, they said 651,000. The specific work to do with the waiver, replacing the towers, and putting up what they're calling dead end structures in the substation. That's $651,000 approximately.
Okay. So more than 19 million of the project is not being requested for a CPCN waiver.
Correct.
Okay. And that 19 plus million includes, there are going to be two different substations, correct? There's going to be a new substation, and then that new substation is going to be replaced by a second substation.
Right. So this first substation that they're building is 19.8 million. Then down the road, 4 years from now, they're going to be building another substation. That we don't know what the cost of that is going to be. That's a different cost.
Okay, so the 19.8 million is for the first substation.
Correct.
That's not before us today, and the new towers, the new wires.
Correct. The new towers, the new wires, and the new substation. This first substation, that's all 19.8 million.
Okay, so the data center is going to pay for the new towers and the new wires. Who's paying for the substation?
This first substation that includes this whole 19.8 million is paid for by the data center. That's what BGE is saying.
Okay,
The 651,000 plus 19.2 whatever it is for its substation, this first substation will be paid for by the data center customer.
okay, because I had the sense and that was why I had a little bit of confusion, because I had the sense that the substation was going to be socialized under the PJM tariff.
Now, 4 years from now, they need to build a second substation on the customer's premises. In my buck sheet, I call it the 2029 substation. That substation is going to be socialized because BGE is going to be able to use some terminals within that substation for its own purposes.
Okay, but the 19.8 million is going to be paid for in total by the data center.
Correct.
Okay, now the data center is going to need some additional supply. They're not providing their own supply. They're going to be interconnected, and they're going to be using power coming from somewhere within PJM, correct?
Correct.
Okay, have you done any analysis of how that's going to impact any constraints within the BGE zone?
No.
Okay, because you are aware that we have pretty high capacity prices
I'm
as
very
a
much
result.
aware.
Okay,
Yes.
has any analysis been done on the impact of this new data center on future capacity prices? Because I'm assuming it's only going to go in one direction. I mean, if we already have constraints, then adding the data center is only going to increase the constraints. Okay, so there's been no study, nothing that BGE has done. I'm going to ask BGE
But
after you're finished.
Yeah, I don't know if BGE has done any studies, but we haven't done any for this buck sheet. No.
Okay, so all we're doing now is we're just looking to see whether they've met the conditions of the statute. Unfortunately, the even if we even if we're required to approve this mandatory waiver, the impact of this data center could be significant on BGE customers in terms of higher capacity costs.
I understand.
And we're not aware of whether the data center is putting on storage on the system to maybe help alleviate some of the additional constraints. We don't know anything about that.
No.
Okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, go ahead.
Good morning, Commissioner Linton, Commissioner Suchman, Chair Hoover, and Commissioner McLean. I'm Catherine Moriarty on behalf of BG&E. I'd first like to thank staff for its detailed analysis and recommendations, and the company is available for questions.
So, any questions for Commissioner Suchman?
Yes, I actually signaled that I'm going to have some questions. Good morning, Ms. Moriarty. So just to be clear, this 19.8 million is going to be for the substation that's not before us, but will be before us at some point.
No, the 19.8 million includes the costs for the overhead transmission line work that I'm requesting a CPCN waiver for here today, and then the substation build out of of what that overhead lines will be connecting to. So the costs for the, as staff calls it, the 2029 future substation are not included.
Right, but
before you.
I'm talking about the first substation.
Yes.
Are you going to need to come to us for a request for CPCN or a waiver? You don't need that. You can just go ahead and just build the substation.
Yes,
Okay. And the data center is going to cover the 19.8 million.
yes.
Okay. And this data center, are they planning on putting storage on site, or are they simply going to have backup power?
I think the team thinks that there's just going to be backup power.
Okay. And when the data center came to you, sort of recognizing that there are some serious constraints within the BG zone, within PJM, which is why capacity prices are so high. Did anybody look to see it's going to be a little more than 100 megawatts before that second substation is built. But then when the second substation is built, it's going to be nearly 500 megawatts of need. Has anybody looked at the impact of this increased load on capacity prices, or on the ability of BG to actually make this happen?
So BG&E has looked at the reliability issues and in ensuring that they could, supply this data center with the load, but they haven't looked or done any capacity analysis regarding increased costs.
Okay, so from a reliability perspective, you don't see a reliability problem adding 500 megawatts of load within an already constrained area?
Well, we're not adding 500 megawatts with this CPCN waiver request before you. We're only adding
Okay,
approximately
100. So
megawatts.
for the 100 megawatts, but have you since you're anticipating that you're going to be adding 500 megawatts of load, presumably you've done the analysis for that as well.
So we provided the future 2029 substation information to provide transparency because the commission has been requesting, more full, wholesome planning information. That's why that information has been provided in this filing. But regarding that future build out, it could require either a CPCN, it could qualify for a waiver, or it might not need any type of filing like that because there could be no aerial transmission work. But a BG&E would likely be bringing that project, in a separate form.
No, I understand that, but a data center comes to you and says, we have 100 megawatts of load now, but we may be looking at 500 megawatts of load. I'm assuming somebody within BGE actually did the analysis to see that this could actually happen.
Yes.
I mean, you wouldn't say, well, we'll bring on 100. We're not sure what's going to happen with 500, so we'll just sort of deal with it when the matter comes up.
Right. I'm going to bring my subject matter expert.
That's
Eric
fine.
Yates,
Good.
Senior
Thank you.
Manager of Transmission.
Yeah, good morning, Commissioners. My name is Eric Gay. As mentioned, Senior Manager of Transmission Regional Planning for the Mid-Atlantic South companies for Exelon. That includes the BGE and PEPCO jurisdictions. With respect to your question, we certainly have looked at the reliability, both from the 100 megawatt, approximately 100 megawatt, and the final build-out. Capacities and from a reliability standpoint, we with the current plans, we will be addressing all the reliability concerns. Now, reliability, we constantly look at refreshed, reliability and changing conditions, whether it's changing due to other reasons as well. So it's not to say that there won't be reliability issues associated with other changes to the system in the future, maybe in certain areas of the system. But from what we've looked at so far under both the 100 as well as the full build out, any reliability issues will be resolved.
Okay. And when you looked at the full build out to 500 megawatts, in your analysis, you're not assuming direct payment by the data center for the cost of building out to 500 megawatts. You're going to socialize that. So all of PJM pays for it.
Yeah, so the analysis that I'm speaking to is strictly from a loading standpoint and looking at it from a thermal overload and voltage perspective. This particular study is not incorporated cost.
Okay, but Ms. Moriarty, the expectation is that when you build out this new substation, you're going to socialize those costs to all of PJM.
So my understanding for that future project would be that that the cost of that project would largely be recovered through and under the FERC jurisdictional network integrated transmission service rates.
Right, and that's notwithstanding the fact that you would need the new substation if the data center wasn't being located there. Is that correct?
Sorry, this is Eric again. The final build out, the 2029 substation, will have available potential to serve other customers as well as serve other needs for the reliability.
Right, but
of
would
the system.
would you need to build out that new substation if this data center weren't locating where it is?
We may need to, but it would be undetermined in terms of the time.
But the driver is the data center.
From a timing perspective.
Okay, and do you have a sense of how much cost that would be for the build out of this new this new substation?
At this time, not yet. It's currently being engineered.
Okay, and so I asked about the impact on capacity costs. Have you also looked at the impact on the ability to ultimately shut down Brandon Shores if you put this new data center in?
Yes, the studies that we ran based on the timeline of the expected timeline of the load was utilizing models that reflected that timeline. So within the full build out, the expectation would be that Brandon Shores would be offline as planned.
Oh, okay. That's not quite answering my question. So for the 100 megawatts of load now, that assumes that Brandon Shores stays open.
Yeah, the expectation is the Brandon Shores related projects needed to be in service prior to Brandon Shores being allowed to come offline have not been completed yet. And based on the reliability must-run status of the Brandon Shores units, they would still be available to be online, and that's
Okay.
reflected in the studies.
But with this new, and assuming it goes up to the 500 megawatts of load, 2029, you will not need Brandon Shores to provide for some of that load. You'll still be able to the Brandon Shores will still be able to shut down by 2029.
That is correct. Under the 2029 configuration, the projects that are in progress are expected to be completed. They would be modeled in service, and then the Brandon Shores units will be modeled offline. And that's the configuration that we studied.
Okay. Well, I can tell you that I'm concerned about adding new load at a time when there are some serious constraints within the BG zone, without sort of thinking through what that means and how best to avoid what I think will be an inevitable, which is very high capacity prices reaching the cap for the next auction and then in years following, because we're not thinking about what's the best way to add data centers. I mean, the fact that we're not even having a discussion, and you're not having a discussion about bringing storage onto the data center, I think is reflective of the fact that we've got we've got this, storage proceedings on the one hand, but we're doing business as usual on the other hand at a time when we cannot do business as usual. I feel constrained by the statute and the mandatory waiver provision, but I just feel like we're continuing to go down a path that is just imposing more and more costs on ratepayers without thinking about what's the best way forward. And I'm not saying I don't have a problem with data centers. I have a problem with not thinking about the best way to bring data centers online. So that's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Okay, anybody else? Mr. Linton?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good morning. I just had a couple questions about the data center itself and just the timing. When are you expecting that the data center will need this load?
I believe the schedule, the project is to start this December 2025 to be completed around. So about in September 2026.
Okay, so they're building it out in parts. So they need the 100 megawatts now. 100 now, but they're expanding it to need more at a point later in the future.
Right. I mean, this 100 megawatts is a defined project that, has costs and a plan and design details all finalized. But there is an expected forecast that their load will ramp up and increase. But this is just a discrete, distinct project, separate and apart from the 2029 future build out. And in fact, this project this substation would then be converted into a terminal substation. So they are, I like to think of them kind of as like twins, identical twins. They are, related, but separate and distinct.
Okay. So the transmission lines that you're looking for the waiver for today, are they designed for the current twin or for the future twin?
Sorry, could you repeat that question?
The transmission lines that you're looking for the waiver for today, is that line designed to cover the project that's before us or the one that they're looking to have in the future?
This is Eric A. again to address this question. The requested modifications to the system with respect to the tower replacements, as well as the first substation we talked about, is only capable of supplying that first 100 megawatts. Part of the additional activity for the second 2029 will be to make available additional connections required for the full additional characteristics to allow it to get to its full capacity.
So you're going to need to replace the lines that you're looking to get the waiver for now. You're going to have to update them again.
The specific portion that we are building first will be converted to a terminal station, so it will allow us it will be a part that helps make the additional connections for the 2029. It's a part of that total build out, although again, we're still engineering a lot of that 2029 build out. Sorry, could you repeat that other part?
Well, it sounds like there's two parts to the project, and I'm just trying to understand how much of what we're looking to waive here today is permanent plant that's going to be able to serve the second half that you anticipate also building out, or are we just talking about something that's only going to work for a couple of years?
Yeah, the part that is not converting to a terminal station will be no longer needed once the permanent station's needed. That's largely why this cost is being provided entirely by the customer.
So the customer is driving the timeline and I guess they're by their own design. This project is making some modification now, but what the customer ultimately wants is something much larger and you're going to have to come back for that later.
Right. The larger part needs additional modifications to the system. Correct. What's here today only addresses the work needed for that first portion to address the first approximately 100 megawatts.
So do we know if I'm not sure how much of this you could share, but has this customer committed to being active there and participating and continuing to be a customer, so that then we know this next project's actually going to be built, or is this still speculative?
So this is a large load customer that is building out a data center, and they're invested in this area, and we don't have any reason to believe that they would abandon this investment. I mean, they're fully funding this project.
They're fully funding the first part,
Right.
but we don't know about the second part, the larger modification.
Right. We don't know about how that cost will be exactly calculated yet.
Okay, so you're going to, I guess that negotiation is still to come. So it doesn't sound like the commission, we weren't part of the first one, so I doubt we'll be part of the second one. But no, we're certainly rooting for you to make sure that they pay more than we do. So I'll stop there. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Well, actually, if I could follow up on Commissioner Linton's question, this, build out that's going to come in future years, is this based on their, getting customers for their service, or is this something that they, know is going to happen and they're going to do it anyway?
Sorry, this is Eric. I'm not sure I quite understand the question. Could you?
Well,
rephrase
so
it?
the question is that they want 100 megawatts right now. They anticipate going to 500 somewhere down the road.
Hmm?
Now, is that based on their ability to sell their data center services to other customers, or is, in that sense, is it sort of speculative, their move from 100 to 500, or is this already locked in, they've got contracts for whatever they need, and this is just going to happen, and it's sort of an evolutionary event as opposed to a speculative event?
I understand the question.
I don't think we know the answer at this
Okay.
time of how, if the 500 megawatts, how that's being forecasted per.
Okay, all right. I mean, because and part of that maybe we need to learn from the data center industry how these things go. But I'm just wondering if they're in like this competitive environment, and for whatever reason, the customers that they think they're going to serve don't show up. Do they just stop it and keep it at 100 megawatts? It's sort of related to his question about, do you have any concern that they're going to get up and walk away? And you said no. You think they're committed to the 100. But I guess I'm trying to figure out whether the 500 is more speculative or is it more certain?
Right. I could follow up with that question, Chair
Okay.
Hoover. I don't know that answer.
Okay, all right. All right.
Mr. Chair.
Oh, okay, all right.
Okay, so again, so I sort of read through the both your application and the bucksheet from staff. So I was a little confused, and I got even more confused from Commissioner Litton's questions about the lines that are being built now that you're requesting, and I mean, I had the sense that you're taking the substation that's being built now, and it's going to be converted to a terminal station. So it will have value to the company. And I guess I read the terminal lines, or the line terminals, the 2 to 3 lines that you're building now will also be available for use. Does that cover all of the lines that you're building now?
I'm sorry.
So I'm looking at staff bucksheet, pages 3 to 4. And so at the very bottom, the 2029 station will replace the Annapolis Junction substation. So that's the substation you're building now, that 19.8 million, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And that's going to be converted to a terminal station, so it'll continue to have value to the company. Okay. And then in addition, 2 to 3 230 kV line terminals will be available at the 2029 substation for future BGUs. So are those all the lines that are being built now for this project?
Those lines are not being built for this project. Those lines will be added in the future for the future 2020.
Okay, so what's going to happen to the lines that we're kind of being forced to give you a CPCN waiver?
Well, so really, the work that's being done here really just involves rerouting an existing transmission line to the substation by installing a couple structures to enable the rerouting to the substation that will be built. So
Okay, but what's going to happen? Let's assume
it's going to be
that
connected to the data center.
right. No, but let's assume in 2029 you have this new substation. You've converted the other substation to a terminal station. What's going to happen to the lines that are being built as a result of our mandatory CPCN waiver?
But those lines will be part of the terminal station, which will connect the overhead lines to the underground lines.
So those will continue to be of use. The use will change.
The use will change, but I believe they'll still be part of the infrastructure, what can be used.
Okay, so nothing's gonna be torn down. Nothing is gonna be. It's all gonna be of use. And
So I can't say that definitively because the design isn't finalized for that, what they're going to do exactly.
okay, and then what part of this is going to be rate based?
Of this project I'm requesting a CPCN waiver for here today,
I'm assuming none of that will be rate
none
based.
of it. The large load customer is paying for the cost of this project.
Right. So that will not. And then and so for the 2029, you're not making that. I'm assuming that will be rate based because that's going to be socialized.
From what I understand, yes, that will be. That separate and distinct project that will come down, before you at some time in the future will likely be rate-based.
Okay. And then in terms of O&M, even though the data center will be paying for those lines, that substation, ratepayers will still be on the hook for O&M.
Yes, ratepayers will still be on the hook for O&M, just like in any other commercial service line extension project Target wants to connect to BG&E's distribution grid. We all pay those O&M costs, or BG&E ratepayers.
Okay. Thank you.
All right.
Mr. Chair.
Oh,
if I could-
sure.
Excuse me, Drew McAuliffe. Good morning, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. Drew McAuliffe on behalf of staff. So, as you are aware, I head up our PC72 large load work group. So we've covered a lot of those issues. I was just hoping to clarify some things for you here.
Sure.
So with the recent legislation that we've kicked off this work group for, there are certain requirements. So the issue of this kind of speculative nature of the data center. So these load ramps are common. This is a very normal practice to start at a smaller scale and build up. So obviously with this project, the tariffs, I would almost guarantee won't be ready by the time this project goes through. However, if any of these large load customers increase load by 25 megawatts, they automatically have to come back under the tariff, even if this project was established before these tariffs go into effect. So we have to send the tariffs to you September 1st, 2026. So let's just say they're finalized by January 1st, 2027. So for example, with this project, if they build this 100 megawatts by September 2026, but then add even just 25 in 2027, 2028, they will fall under that tariff, which has certain requirements for collateral and things like that to guard against the speculative nature of a lot of these data centers. So I just wanted to provide that.
Okay. All right.
But Mr. McAuliffe, I'm assuming that if this data center causes an increase in capacity costs because of increases in constraints bringing supply to load. They're not going to cover that differential. All ratepayers are going to pay that increase in costs.
Yeah, I mean, I would argue the capacity market obviously is out of the control of this commission. So, for example, you're asking about the rate basing of the 2029 project. So as soon as PJM or FERC determines any transmission project as networked, meaning it benefits the grid as a whole, it's out of our jurisdiction and it's immediately goes to FERC.
Well, and the waiver provision takes this out of our jurisdiction also. So notwithstanding the fact that this project could have an impact on capacity costs, and so ratepayers would be on the hook for that. There's nothing we can do about that.
Not that I'm aware of. But yeah, so the work group, we are discussing kind of this fine line between Maryland jurisdiction and FERC jurisdiction.
No,
Obviously,
I understand. Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Okay, with that, I move we grant the company's request for a mandatory waiver of the requirement to obtain a CPCN pursuant to Public Utilities Article 7-207B4I to modify its existing overhead transmission lines for the project described in its waiver request. Commissioner McLean?
Aye.
Commissioner Linton?
Aye.
Commissioner Suchman?
Reluctantly, for the reasons I explained earlier, I will vote aye, but I'm troubled that our hands are tied and we have no ability to look at the impact of this project on ratepayers now and in the future.
I vote aye. And with that,